Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he's your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 2025's The Home. As always, we assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. And this was a first-time thing for me, man. I kind of stumbled upon it. I remember seeing the poster and watched the trailer when it came out and immediately forgot about it. And then it popped up and I was like, what is this? And I started like, oh, great. Pete Davidson. I'm going to say right off, not really a fan. The only time he's ever made me laugh was that one SNL skit. And I don't think you've seen it, where Adam Driver played his father on career day in school. And he comes in as this ancient oil tycoon. And it is probably one of the funniest SNL skits I've ever seen. But what made it for me is everyone's trying not to laugh. And Pete Davidson breaks at one point. And then the entire, like all of the actors on stage just lose it. And it was like a really weird, heartwarming thing that just brought me right into the sketch. And then every little joke hit hard. It was awesome. So having a horror film with him as the lead, I was very apprehensive. But did you know anything about this movie before I said we were going to cover it?
No, man. It was one of those ones where you said the name and I had to look it up. And even after watching it, I was like, did this get a wide release, or was this just like a local film festival kind of type release?
Yeah, it did the circuit. It did hit theaters, but kind of went unadvertised and no one really heard about it, so it didn't stay for long. I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not going to say if I like it or I dislike it, but it is definitely a movie that should be seen for good and bad reasons. But I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it, because I think there's a lot to say about this movie, which you may find funny. And first viewing, I thought it'd be hilarious just to rip on it. Second viewing, I think this movie really, really needs a rewatch for people to fully get what's going on.
Fair enough. I do want to echo a point that you were talking about, and it was with the casting of Pete Davidson. Mm-hmm. I was telling Ryan that, this was the movie that we were covering and that I watched it, and I went into a little more detail than I will delve into at this moment. Mm-hmm. But like when I first kind of went through an initial description of it, like his first question was, so was it a comedy? Right? Because that's what you expect if you hear Pete Davidson. Right now,
yeah,
I don't know why, but I like Pete Davidson. And
really?
The reason why I say I don't know why is because I can't really point to like a movie or a role that really stood out that made me like him. I just kind of like him. He seems just like a chill dude who's just trying his best, and he doesn't care too much about what other people think. And of course, that's not necessarily a trait that will make you a good actor by any means, but like it is just something that I feel like I gravitate towards him in a positive light. But I was also kind of expecting at the least for there to be comedic undertones, more comedy breaks, which we didn't get.
No, I honestly thought this was going to be mismarketed as just a horror film and not like a horror comedy, it's exactly what I was expecting. I was wrong. There is a little bit of comedy, but no more than you would find as like an icebreaker in another horror film. Mm-hmm. Did it work? We'll get into
that. Okay.
So let's just dive right into this movie.
Sounds good.
So we open on Max. Pete Davidson is the lead, a delinquent graffiti artist waking up in his shithole apartment. Now, a flashback shows Max and his foster family celebrating his brother Luke's acceptance to college. And to go back to him waking up, I have to assume that comparing the memory he's just had with the approaching hurricane in the current timeline that's being reported on TV was an artistic choice, which is a recurring thing in the movie. But do you think it actually did anything for the film?
The hurricane itself is probably the main element of the movie that even after the fact, I don't understand. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, is it perhaps an analogy to, something worse coming, potentially an eye of the storm in a break later in the movie? Like, it's a symbol of a destructive force which hits at the same time that Pete Davidson goes destructive. Like, there's threads to pull at with it, but like the hurricane is still one element that I don't think I fully grasped. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
That's fine. And I think it's because it's so overused and it doesn't really come into play until the end, and possibly the worst way it could. Because I don't think we need the whole, there's a physical and emotional storm brewing. It's getting closer and closer. That's fine. But the movie doesn't need shit like that. This movie, for the first part, just seems like a slow burn, old school gothic narrative set in modern day. And I'm okay with that. So I feel like they're just kind of trying to push an artistic view when they should have held back a bit.
I think the one thing that I was kind of hoping in real time, not going back and analyzing it, is that the use of the can be to like cover up the destruction. So like, I don't know what the point would be necessarily to, forecast it so far in advance. But if, after his destructive streak at the end, if it takes down the nursing home and that kind of covers any sort of involvement that he has in what takes place, then I'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, it was a little heavy-handed, but at least, now we know why he's not going to go to jail after the credits roll.
That would make a lot more sense, really. Because I find that the ending is very problematic. And this is not something to really discuss, but I have to say, I did find it really weird that at the family dinner, Max looks really happy that Luke's going to college, but later on, when Luke comments on young Max's newest drawing how his best yet, Max is really upset that he's leaving. I guess the only reason for this is to show why he's a delinquent when he gets older, but that also seems like a very minor thing to cause such a major later life reaction.
I didn't read that much into it because when you are younger, you hear good news and you feel celebratory without actually thinking about and processing the long-term implications. So in that moment, I didn't think much of it because I'm like, oh, okay, everybody's happy and celebrating. But then later, in a moment of solitude, he stops to think, oh, that means he's being taken away. So I don't know if that was just me being naive, but I didn't think too much of his reaction to the news, at least initially.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, too, because I think this is a case of me looking way too much into it, and your explanation makes so much more sense to me. Again, I think it's just the whole hurricane thing. I'm like, this seems unnecessary, and now we have this reaction. I'm like, am I supposed to find something in this? But if that's not the case, that makes it much better. So Max breaks into a building and starts painting, only to be arrested by the police for vandalism. And I have to say, the artwork is pretty great. The message that he paints.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say
the message of our future is burning just seems a little on the nose. But
right.
Go ahead.
Because he is a bit of a delinquent, but he doesn't seem like an anarchist or any sort of like doomsayer or anything like that. So I can see his disillusion, but that seems very dark even for the character that is in his shoes. And then I also don't think that this focus on the art, which is kind of mirrored again when he does the painting for, I forget her name, the lady. Norma, but like then they don't really touch on his artistic side again. So
exactly,
again, it's just another like maybe they're trying to give the character a little bit more depth, but you know, you don't do anything with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, at least if it was like the discovery of his brother, maybe
Mhm.
if in his possession was like a drawing that was done previously in the movie, like an old, well, maybe during the flashback, he hands him a, oh, when you're going to college, here's like something to remember me by, and it's a picture of the two of them together. And then he
Oh, that
finds
would have been
that,
great.
yeah, like he finds that somewhere on the wheelchair or something, and be like, okay, well, it was the art that was like the tying element. But again, it's just another thing that he does.
Yeah. I really wish they kept going with it though, because the art is pretty great. And the way like he's so intense, so angry as he's doing it when he like slaps the brush against the brick wall and the paint sprays back on his face. Like there's a lot of the use of the color red in this movie.
Okay,
Even
so
like
I gotta ask
yeah,
though, to cut you off. There is a
sure.
moment that reflects that paint splattering on him.
Is that towards the end?
Yeah, when he is doing his killing spree, whatever. We're gonna get into the spoilers anyway, right?
Sure.
There is a moment where it does a very similar slow motion shot, and instead of red paint, it's blood that splashes on his face in like a very mirror kind of moment.
I missed that. That's amazing.
It is, but again, it begs the question, like, what's the tie to the art? You know what I mean? Like, if they had a deeper meaning for the art, that maybe there is,
Mhm.
maybe I'm not smart enough to have figured it out or whatever. But like, if there was a more deeper meaning to the art, then that showcase becomes so much grander to me. Otherwise, it was still like when I watched it, I was like, that's still pretty cool, but why?
Mhm. I'm not overly familiar with the director. I know he did the Purge movies. James DeMonaco is his name. He did the Purge movies, at least the first three, writer director. Then had written and directed This Is Night. He's mainly a writer, and then The Home. I did find it really weird. Do you remember that Robin Williams movie Jack from the '90s?
Never watched it.
Oh god, it was funny but insanely dark at times. That was his first writing gig, and it makes so much sense now. But I kind of was hoping this would have been his first film because then I could let things like what you just said go, and that he was trying to say something, but he's not experienced enough to do it yet. But I think you're right in that we're just kind of left to wonder why without being given an explanation.
The only thing I could think of, and it could be grasping at straws, but you know I can't help myself but do this, is the message when he does the painting is the world is burning.
Yeah.
And when the blood splatter happens on his face in a similar image, it's almost like a physical manifestation of that because he is just going apeshit. Right?
I think you're right. I really do.
But again, if the place was like on fire because of like the hurricane and like some cable lines went down or something like that, as on the nose as it would be, I'd be like, oh, I see the tide. The world is burning, right? But
Nah. In his holding cell, Max has another flashback, and this is where his parents are sobbing and telling him that Luke has killed himself while at college, and that he left a note, a letter. Like, okay, that adds more to the rage. I get that. And then it's a time for a visit from his foster father. He's saying he's pulled some strings with the judge and that Max will only be sentenced to community service, working as an on-site super at Green Meadows retirement home. It seems really weird, but I kind of just went with it. It's a decent setup for the plot, almost like House Arrest and Disturbia, or I mean Rear Window too, like which is the much better film of the two. Disturbia being very much a remake of that, but forcing him into an environment that he's not allowed to leave. I think that's a really smart move for what I assume to be a lower budget movie. As I was watching it, keep him in that one environment, and I'm okay with this because now we're locked in to Green Meadows, and I was all for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay that way.
see, I agree with everything you said, but I chuckle because I'm just like, he's given up. Like this is a delinquent. Their plan completely falls apart if he's like, no, I'll just go to jail.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, yes,
But
it is more likely that any person would pick like community service or whatever they called it as instead of jail, but it does just rely on a lot of things. It also relies on him getting arrested in the first place.
yeah, there's a lot to this plan that could go wrong really fast. So we get to Green Meadows. What are your thoughts on the exterior of this retirement home, this nursing home?
So if this was a retirement home in real life that I was to go visit, I would be afraid of it in the first place. It looks,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe not fear, but it does look like a penitentiary.
Oh, it does.
Right?
It looks like an asylum.
Yeah, I had that thought when he was going there, and I'm like, looks like he's just going to jail.
I thought when I first saw it that they just called it, the Green Meadows retirement home, but it was actually for crazy people. And they just gussied up the name. I'm like, this could get really interesting. But it's perfectly isolated in the middle of nowhere. Like, as you said, it does not look welcoming on the outside. It's old, decrepit. The color palette is just gray and dismal. But it also matches Max's demeanor, which I really enjoyed. And I'm thinking at this point, we're going to see him grow or fall apart as the building is falling apart. And I'm thinking, is this like going to be a weird Shining thing? Is he just going to go crazy and start taking out the residents? Which, I mean,
yes,
he does, but not the way I thought. But then we get that creepy shot of the old man staring from the window. And like, holy shit, I am hooked. 7 minutes, 49 seconds into the movie, we get the title card. I am A-okay with this. Mm-hmm. Were you as hooked as I was at this time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I like, whether you like or dislike the movie, and that will become very apparent as we continue through this, you can't help but be intrigued by it. Like, you want to know, you want to be along for the ride. They do that element, and I'll say it now, I don't think they stick the landing on a lot of the intrigue items. But they definitely set them up in a way that, you're like, okay, all right, I'm on board. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, and for a movie that I hadn't really heard anything about, starring an actor that I don't care about at all, I'm excited to see where this goes now. Like, I'm completely caught off guard. It's already exceeded expectation, and I'm totally along for the ride. So we cut to Max being given instructions as to what his role is, and the guy here, Les, is a complete asshole. But I did find that the weirdest rule was, don't go on the 4th floor. Those patients need special care. And I forget who it was that said that. Juno. Juno is the other orderly. I really like the pairing of these two because it's the down-to-earth, soothing orderly and the complete abrasive asshole orderly. And like, this is a fun pair. I would like to see more of these two on screen.
I had a feeling right from the start that Les was going to end up, well, I was wrong in this prediction, but I was under the belief that like they were going to set him up as a red herring to be like this asshole. Maybe you think that he's involved in it and that he ends up being an ally because that is just his grim demeanor, but not his actual like beliefs and desires. Dead wrong on that, but like this was the feeling I was getting at this point. I'm like, man, I've seen enough of these movies. Like the asshole that's that obvious is not usually the villain. So good on them for fooling me in that.
Yeah, and me too. But he immediately reminded me of Ben Stiller in, was it Happy Gilmore?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, as like just that asshole worker in a retirement home. We get our first jump scare of the movie when Max goes into the janitor's closet. We get that anatomy mannequin. First time in the movie, I was really unimpressed. Then we get what I could consider a second jump scare of the movie in that weird sex scene.
Yeah. Even to this day, I don't know what that was. Like, I get that everything was very well orchestrated. Everybody's playing a role. They're trying to guide him to what they want. And I'm just like, what did this do?
Yeah, exactly. And it reminded me of The Shining, because here we get like two elderly people with weird masks on and like bondage straps going at it. It reminded me of The Shining in that one quick shot of that dude in the bear costume blowing a guy in a tuxedo. But how did you feel about how the woman notices Max staring and just stares back at him?
Off-put.
Yeah, right? And it just lingers. I'm like, I don't know where we're going, but I don't think I like it.
No. I mean, if the movie's intention in these scenes is to make the viewer feel uncomfortable, similar to how he must feel, in that regard, mission accomplished.
Yeah. I have to ask you at this point, where do you think this movie is going?
I don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, it leads us to aquarobics. I was always curious to know if this actually works, because I only ever see old people doing it in movies and TV shows. I've never even heard of it in the real world. So I looked into it, and apparently it does help lower blood pressure. So actually beneficial in an old folks home.
It's actually also very helpful on the joints because you can have a better range of motion without putting as much pressure and stress on your joints.
The more you know.
Yeah. Aqua aerobics is very common, but probably more for an older clientele.
Introduction to Norma, Mary Beth Pale, who I was very excited to see because she played Grams on Dawson's Creek, and I know you don't care.
Well, I mean, you have a connection with her. You guys spent a lot of time on set together, and it's understandable.
Quite a few years, man. She's great. But she's a resident of the home who really does take a shining to Max. And as soon as I said Shining, I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, it really is The Shining.
You mentioned it like 3 times now. So.
I know. I get that vibe. It's the Overlook Hotel, man. One woman in the pool starts bleeding profusely from her head. And the instructor of the aquarobics class says she got in the pool after her skin procedure. So it's a great shot. I'm even more hooked now because we've got the old man in the window, the whole 4th floor thing, an interesting character in Norma, and now weird mystery head traumas.
Except that, again, it never comes back to it because none of what they do is a skin surgery.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up because I have a question. Are we to believe that this was a surgical procedure? And if so, do they do that at retirement homes or do they take them to the hospital? It kind of seems like a weird scenario to have an all-in-one facility.
So here's the difficult part with the ending of the movie. They don't quite explain who at the nursing home is part of the charade and who is just a nursing home patient, an extra, for lack of a better phrase. So if this is one of the actual people that are involved in it, they don't care to like mimic what's actually going on. They just want to create, and like if you look at it, almost like looks like she's bleeding from like where her hairline is. So it's like it could have been something that was staged, right?
Yeah,
to
like
get
piped
him
in.
again. Yeah, to get him. You know, I'm assuming that if they're trying to manipulate him, the first thing that they want to do is like knock down all of his guards, right? Create a paranoia, create a fear, create like a feeling of unease with anything can happen to whatever. But that would take like a very extensive viewing of the movie to see if like, hey, is this person later in like the group shots when the reveals are happening or not, or anything like that.
Yeah, it does help make things feel weird at the home, but it also doesn't really need to be there. Because I think it would be better if it was all psychological and not weird physical gore and stuff like that. But we get another decent jump scare because Max has a nightmare and wakes to his brother screaming his name, then distant voices, and Max notices that the door to his bedroom is ajar. I have a problem with these nightmares, but we'll get into that later. I'm curious to know what you think.
Okay.
So Max wakes up to a news report of another hurricane, which I have to believe it's another one because time has passed, heading his way. Again, very heavy-handed symbolism, which I don't need. But there's also very frantic pounding on his door, and it's residents Lou, played by John Glover, and Sadie, played by Denise Burse, telling Max that Ethan had a terrible accident and there's shit everywhere.
What do you want me to do about it? Clean it up?
Clean it up? It's a good chuckle, man. Like, the writing here is pretty great.
It's even better when you find out that they were making it up. They were like, oh, we had to get you out here somehow. And it's just like, that's what you came with. That's pretty awesome. It's
pretty great. And I wanted to ask what you thought about the reveal that it's just a welcome party for Max.
At the time, before I knew all of the people involved, I was just like, okay, like, he's going to find that these residents are really nice people. And he's going to connect with them. And there's going to be a level of growth. But at the same time, like, this is kind of like our first introduction to John Glover's character, and like I have always been a fan. Like, I loved him on Smallville.
How could you not be a fan?
Exactly, right? So like, this was just like, to boil it down, it was a scene that just put a smile on my face. I really like this.
Me too. And I have to say, it took me until about halfway into the film where I'm like, this Lou character is great. This actor is phenomenal. Like, I don't know how I haven't seen him before. And I looked up, I'm like, are you kidding me? This John Glover?
I knew it right away.
All right, but I need to ask you this. Do you know how old John Glover is?
You know I don't.
81.
What? Wow.
Yeah. I know. I completely caught me off guard. And I think that was it, because he looks old. He looks great for his age, don't get me wrong. But he is so much older than the last time I saw him that it was only certain little elements of like facial features were like, oh, I think I may have seen him before, but maybe not. But yeah, this is the reveal of this welcome party. I thought it was incredibly sweet, a brilliant tension breaker for the storyline.
It's also very revealing that their plan is working, because especially on a rewatch, if you go back and look at that scene as he kind of steps back and watches them from the doorway and they're all enjoying himself, he kind of starts to crack like a smile for like the first time in the movie, right? And you can kind of see that like what they're doing is also creating this idea that like he's going to start accepting the unexpected, right? Like, he's gonna let his guard down because weird things happening are commonplace there. And like, honestly, it was the first time in this movie where I was just like, Pete Davidson is doing a pretty good job.
He's doing a great job. Like, I felt bad for like judging him as being a bad actor. I'm wrong. He is not a bad actor at all.
Well, I'll say this now. By the end of the movie, I think he does an amazing job. But even as someone who liked him, going into this, I was like, can he do something that's not comedy? And this was where I really started to turn on it, because prior to it, we were just getting very stoic, one-note expressions, just like it wasn't a lot of range that was required. And this is where I was starting to see, like, there's something there. But by the end of the movie, I was like, he's not just a comedy actor to me. He can do this, and he can do it well.
I will say, after watching this movie, I will give anything he's in a chance. Because I think I'd be cheating myself if I didn't. I also love that in this scene, he's wearing a fake sports team shirt, the Staten Island Pizza Rats. Because I forgot all about the Pizza Rat meme for a long time, and it was just a nice reminder. But this is where we actually meet Ethan, the guy that they told him had the accident. Played by Ethan Phillips. And did you recognize him at all?
No, sir.
You don't watch Star Trek at all, do you?
No, sir.
All right. Well, he played Neelix. I don't watch Star Trek at all. Outside of the original series, I think I may have seen like 4 episodes of random shows. but I remember seeing him before, and he stands out to me. It's kind of a nice little bit of nostalgia to see him in something. At the party, though, the look of disdain on Mac's face when he sees one resident painting, and then her reaction to it. To me, this was another hurricane moment. Because I'm thinking, are we supposed to be getting anything out of this? Are we supposed to be getting the fact that he sees her not painting properly, maybe?
No, it's not that she's not painting properly. She's like blotting over the painting that she had done, almost like a creation destruction kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's also common practice. I found it really weird. This whole painting character I find very strange. And another thing where I'm like, I think it could be omitted from the film, but maybe there's just something I'm missing.
Mm-hmm.
We also get our intro to Dr. Sabian, who's running the home, played by Bruce Altman. And then cutting to Max sleeping again. We get the masked woman he saw before watching him sleep.
I just want to say, meeting the doctor, I might have been wrong about Les, but immediately I was like, he's too nice. He's the villain.
I didn't get that. And I really should have. And I think it's because the actor, like Altman, did such a good job with the Dr. Sabian character where I don't know why I reacted the way I did, but I'm like, I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, no, in these movies, the character that you initially think is going to be the safe haven usually is not.
But that's what I thought about Norma, which is the exact opposite of what Norma is.
Later.
But, yeah. The masked woman watching Max sleep, is she the painter?
I have no idea, dude.
I just assumed because of the painted mask. But it's revealed that it's a nightmare, or is it? Is this supposed to make any sense? Because she's like putting her hand into his stomach. And what's with the recurring open door visual that we get?
I mean, the open door, it's just an easy way for them to throw him off, right? Like, oh, he's sleeping. Open the door just a little. That'll creep him out if our job is to put him on his heels.
No, it's not that at all, though. It's okay. Part of this charade is, and it weirds me out because they are so blatant with what they're doing and then just cover it up later. Like they are toying with this man to an extent I've never encountered in a film because they are sneaking into his room every night, but they're leaving the door ajar to make him think like someone's breaking into his room, which they are. But he just wakes up and nothing seems out of place. The door's just open. And like, this is the epitome for me of them just fucking with this guy. And it's, again, you only really get this on a rewatch because there is so much that happens in this movie that is them showing you what they're doing. But since you don't know how the story plays out, you are right there with Max at the time. And it's pretty great. So he hears music, heads out as he's investigating why his door is open, sees a couple dancing, but then hears the screaming from the vents. The screaming, by the way, is fantastic. It's unnerving. It's very much out of an old horror film, and it really fits here.
I was watching the movie, and I'm like, if I was in his shoes, I'd be out of there. Like, I don't have enough of a connection to care. I'd just be, no, I'm done. Doors open, people screaming, I'm done.
Yeah. But for him, though, it's also like here or jail.
Yeah, I think I'd go with jail.
Now, the fun thing here is, looking back, knowing what we know, if he fled, would he actually go to jail?
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But he doesn't know that.
It's so depressing. Another encounter with Norma. She's asking for a chat this time. In her room, Max finds a trinket that was sculpted by Norma's friend Esther, but also notices a torn painting on the wall that was done by Norma's son, who passed away shortly after they had an argument. And we have to know this is going somewhere. I'm also curious to know where the other half of the painting went.
He took it with him.
I guess. Is it worthy of note that one of the old sculptures outside, like not just one, but multiple of them are holding chalices? One holding a chalice in one hand, the other, the fist is closed, but holding nothing.
When you know, it's so on the nose.
It really is. It really is.
But it's like the epitome of like hiding in plain sight. Like they've set up a situation that is like so unbelievable, so messed up that they're like, yeah, we'll put these statues out there. You ain't gonna know what that means.
No, nothing. Nothing. Lou is teaching an acting class. And while I found that very sweet, one thing stood out to me.
Okay.
Does this retirement home seem abnormally clean to you? Almost as if Max doesn't really need to be there. Nothing is dusty. Nothing is dirty. He just randomly goes around and like mops the floors. But there's no like cleaning of bathrooms, nothing. We don't see him doing any of that because I guess we don't really need to. But for the most part, this place is immaculate when he gets there and stays that way beyond the minimal amount of work he's putting in. I found that
we don't know how much work he's putting in. It's not like we're following him throughout his entire day, and I don't know how much we would need scenes of him scrubbing a toilet.
I think that would really work to the character, though. But I found that weird, and now I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, he didn't need to clean anyway. The place is fine. So why is he there? Obviously for different reasons. One of my favorite things about this movie are the interactions between Lou and Max.
Okay.
The chemistry between Pete Davidson and John Glover is out of this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the character is also so well written, with Lou telling Max that people always want to prolong their lives, but as they get older, it's the boredom that kills them, not illness or disease. And I'm thinking, that's an odd thing to say to a young man. I understand what he's saying, but why bother say that to Max? Because in retrospect, he's telling Max exactly what they're doing.
I get that, but I also look at it like my mom works at a retirement home.
Yeah.
And she often sees residents pass away and things like that. I think especially because they seem to all know that he's there from like a jail program.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are like, you kind of need to prepare somebody for the right mentality of getting to the point where they realize that this is like death's waiting room, right? And Lou's attitude is almost like it's almost like it's trying to teach you to like lighten the burden, or like ease the blow of creating a connection and then seeing someone pass. And like, hey, maybe you don't want to get close to Norma because she's old and she's going to pass away, but if we get a kind of this mentality into you that it's the boredom that kills you, you're maybe not as worried about those connections and being more concerned about helping them enjoy their final hours, final days, final years, whatever. So again, like at this point in the movie, I feel like there's so many like valuable lessons and that there's so much potential growth for Pete Davidson's character. And I'm sitting here thinking like they're creating a scenario with like Norma and Lou that they're people that I want to see him protect. Right? Which is just, when you look back at the movie, such good writing that
it really is.
It flips it on a dime so drastically.
And looking at these people, like it doesn't, like when I think retirement home, I think almost like sterile, near hospital settings. To me, this feels like an apartment building, not a retirement home. The way everyone acts, the way everyone's so well put together. It seems like they could do very well on their own in their own home. And that really started to make me think on my first viewing. Second viewing, I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. So while cleaning up a spill on the third floor, Max hears the screaming again. And I have to say, again, it's done so well. So Max picks a lock and enters the 4th floor. And do you care to describe what he sees?
No, but I want to start into something else. You know, we always talk about what if these plans don't come together? What if he doesn't know how to pick a lock?
Well, honestly, I think their plan would go a lot smoother if he didn't. Because throughout this movie, multiple times, they've got to put him back onto the right path.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, probably the one part of the plan they don't want him to see is these victims upstairs.
Yeah. And that's why I thought, looking back, when they're giving him the breakdown and like the rules of the home, when she says, don't go on the 4th floor, those people have like certain issues. She could have just been like, don't worry about the 4th floor. They have their own live-in super. And then I don't think he would actually have gone up there. But when she just says, don't go to the 4th floor, and then he hears screaming, you know he's going to go.
Yeah. They don't really want to give him enough information that he just lets it go. Because if they were like, yeah, the 4th floor is for the people who, you know, they have lost their minds, they are a danger, they require special security and special staff, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, the screaming makes sense.
Yeah. And that would have solved everything. You don't want to describe what he sees? Because I'll do it if you don't want to.
No, I don't want to describe what he sees.
Okay. It is a room full of nearly catatonic old people in wheelchairs. Everyone's in very poor states of health. Broken toenails, fingers, seeping random fluids. There are 7 people in the room in their wheelchairs, and there are 7 TVs. But there was one thing I only noticed on the rewatch, and I want to know if you caught this too. To the left of the screen, there is a pristine white wheelchair that is unoccupied.
Did not catch that.
Yeah. Did you notice what was playing on the televisions?
No. Was it more hurricane news?
No, it was a documentary about drilling for oil, like Earth's lifeblood.
Oh, that is so good.
I know, and I completely missed that first viewing because we don't know what's happening. But again, on the rewatch, like this is all so meticulously planned out. It's brilliant. And then we see the old man from the window who becomes extremely agitated when he sees Max and actually attacks him. But he's rescued by 2 orderlies and gets reprimanded by Dr. Sabian. I found the pool party that night an interesting inclusion. I'm not entirely sure what its purpose was, other than making me think if I was an old person, I would definitely go there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a fun place. It definitely seems like the residents are enjoying themselves. But if I'm not mistaken, and you could correct me, it is just outside of this pool party where Norma tells him that something's not right with that place, right?
That's exactly it, yeah.
So I don't know if I necessarily needed it to be a pool party, but I like the contrast between him seeing them having a great time, everything seeming cheeky and merry, and then one of the characters is just like, something's not right here.
That's a great point that I missed. Yeah, it's a great juxtaposition of what looks like old people living in paradise, and then Norma telling him his concern about those people is because a heart knows a heart when he saw the people on the 4th floor and why he's so upset. Which is a saying that she used to tell her son. But then says there's nothing he can do for them, nothing anyone can do. They're like, oh shit, now we're getting real ominous and heavy.
You have to start like getting more heavy, not heavy-handed, but like direct in front of him and not off to the side.
Yeah. Time for another nightmare. Max on the 4th floor again. And I get what we're doing here, but do we need to have so many of these nightmares?
No.
No,
I honestly think that the nightmares are unnecessary for the most part. You can have him like stirred awake a few times so that it's like, hey, it's uneasy and things like that, but you don't actually need the full-blown like flashback there.
Mm-hmm. I get that it adds to him not sleeping well, which they address a few times. But that could just be covered with the short conversation that he has with Lou the next morning. Max witnesses Dr. Sabian scolding Norma before she storms off. And he confronts her later about it, and she assures him everything is fine. Then he tells her about Luke dying and not being allowed to go to the funeral, and that's his, quote, unresolved. Which is a touching moment between the two, but to me it kind of comes out of nowhere. And that's when he gives Norma the gift, and that he's recreated the missing half of her son's painting, which I think we can agree is insanely sweet.
It's insanely sweet, but insanely unbelievable that, like, after seeing it that one time for a brief period of time, that he can even, like, color match the, like, patterns in the sky. Come on.
But even worse than that, he manages to get the perfect rip in the paper so that it lines up.
This man has an attention to detail that he should never be caught off guard by anything.
Exactly. But the conversation takes a turn where she tells him there's something terribly wrong with this place and you need to get out. And then she gets spooked and shuts the door on him. So he later goes looking for Norma, only to be told that she's in the infirmary, which is insanely convenient to the story.
Mm-hmm.
The next scene, I think we can say, is just plain nuts because it's Max doing yard work. I think he's got the leaf blower going and just hating life. We see the old man from 4 get Max's attention by banging on the window, and then he bites his finger and tries to write something in blood. But before we see what that is, there's a scream and Norma falls from the roof to her death, being impaled on the spikes of the gate or the fence. It's insanely gruesome. I don't know why it's as gory as it is. It looks great from a gore perspective. Do you think we needed this?
Yes, 100 times yes. From a story standpoint, this scene was perfect.
It's pretty rough, man. The effects people did an amazing job. But I'm wondering about the old man from 4 and what he was trying to write in his own blood.
Look up at the roof.
Yeah. When emergency crews arrive, Sabian gives the police Norma's suicide note. And now this movie has hit trope territory. Because as soon as the note is mentioned, I'm like, oh, is this like Luke's note?
Yes.
And then I kind of start wondering. And I think this is where like the blinds have kind of been pulled aside. At the wake, Max and a broken Lou have a heart-to-heart, which is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Did anything about this scene stand out to you? And it's okay if not.
Not particularly. I just continued to be impressed with the chemistry that the two actors had together. And like, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, I'd love to see these two do a movie where like their grandpa and grandson or something like that. And they're going through like a lot, we're going to do our grandpa's bucket list before he passes away. And he's passing knowledge to Pete Davidson. I'm like, I want that movie.
That would be amazing. And yeah, you're right. The chemistry between these two is exceptional. Like, I don't know if they even knew in like casting it would be this good, but you put these two on film together and you can't look away. But I want to bring up where we like knowing what happens at the end of the film. When Max starts telling Lou about what Norma was telling him, I don't think Lou knew this because that's when he freezes. And I think it's visually disturbing. And you also see Les leaning over and trying to listen in on the conversation. To me, this is a blatant attempt at misdirect. Not just for Max, but for the viewers as well. And for me, it didn't work. Because I feel like Lou talking about how much time he spent with Norma and how she was his muse, even though we don't really see anything like that at all. And she does mention it, so obviously later on, you think about it, and you're like, yeah, that was a thing. But I don't think Lou expected Max to have had that conversation. So when he brings it up, his reaction is like, "Oh shit!" And him being an actor, he's like, "I'm just gonna freeze and fake like a fit or something." And then that just stops Max from asking any questions. And he'll come out of it when he realizes that. He's like, oh, it's happened again, didn't it? Like, that's brilliant. That is great improv if that's what it was supposed to be. And I really hope it was, because it makes the scene that much better for me.
The way that I read this scene at the time, thinking that Lou was a good guy, was that Lou realized that Max was getting a little too close and knew that people that were privy to information were doomed. And Lou was almost doing this to protect Max, because if he kept him from digging, even if it was this like crazy improv thing, it would help him not get targeted by less who's watching, right?
I never thought about that, and I do like that idea. But if that were the case, like at the end of the movie, would you rather Lou be an ally to Max or to actually be like one of the big bads?
I mean, with the chemistry they had together, of course I would love it if they like Lou and Max lost everything else, but at the end they at least had each other, right? Like,
no. So we get another nightmare, and first viewing, I'm really annoyed by this. But when we realize that part of the nightmare is Max undergoing some sort of procedure, like with his eye, and then the residents tearing their skin off and Luke screaming for help. First viewing, frustrated. Second viewing, I'm realizing they're telling us what's going on.
They are. But like, how do they cater his dreams to what they want?
I have no idea. And this is where he finds a black light in front of his door. My issue here is it looks like it was right up against the door. So how could someone leave it in there and still manage to close the door?
That's too nitpicky. I don't know.
Okay. But regardless, Max uses light and sees the message, "Find the marked ones," written above his bed. So taking a step back, how are we feeling about this movie so far?
Still super intrigued. What about you?
I'm 100% in. Like, I've got my issues with it, but I need to know what's happening. I love that he immediately deduces that it refers to people, and then just breaks into Lou's room and starts scanning his body.
Because Lou is the first person that he wants to protect. Like, yeah, did it so good. Yeah.
But like, find the marked ones. I'd be like, the marked what? It's just, I found it interesting that he just jumped to residents. Also love that he immediately just decides he's going to scan everybody. I'm like, I don't know how you're getting into people's rooms. I mean, I guess he has keys and they said not to go into the rooms unless you knock. But why? Okay, maybe I'm looking into this too much too, but why is Norma's room taped off as a crime scene?
Because she apparently killed herself. I can forgive that because maybe they implied that she jumped out of her own window, right? I didn't think too much about that. You know, to me that made sense. If somebody committed suicide, that it might be a crime scene. Maybe they're going to investigate for foul play. Yeah.
And I could let that go if we just heard the scream and he looked over and saw her hit the fence. But she falls above the 4th floor. And also, I did find it really weird that it's a crime scene, but Les was in there.
Maybe the tape was like they put up the tape to make Max believe that there was some police involvement when we know there wasn't, right?
Shit, I'd never even thought about that. That must be exactly what happened.
Because why would Max go to the police if they were already there?
Yeah. At least we find out that Norma's belongings are in the basement. And so he heads down, finds her trash bag, and takes the trinket we saw earlier, the chalice. Also a diary talking about how they come in the night with their needles. First viewing, I'm thinking this is a plant, but not sure why. Second viewing, I'm thinking it's legit.
It's not a plant. It's a diary.
Oh, come on. Jesus. So Max goes to tell Lou, and what does he discover?
That his theories are taking root as per the plant. No? Did I get it?
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah. Well done. Like, you brought that one back fast. Yeah, they're putting on a great show here for Max. And honestly, it makes sense for Lou to be the star performer, being that off-Broadway actor. Learning that Sabian has been shunned by the medical community. And, okay. The pop-ups on the laptop screen. How did you feel about this?
Annoying.
Yeah, I hate it. I really hate it. The naked woman with the distorted face, the warnings were getting overly complicated. We don't need that tech element. And then he gets spy cameras. I'm thinking, like, was the package left in his room? I don't remember him bringing it in. I have an odd feeling that if he ordered them, they would know as it was being delivered what he's doing. And then we get the faceless woman back in the chat room. And once they try to spin the whole government conspiracy thing, the movie is definitely losing me. How are you feeling?
In retrospect, amazing. I was starting to be a little bit frustrated with the intrigue because it did start to get a little convoluted and very off the wall.
Yes.
But again, in retrospect, it's like they are so arrogant. Like, when you actually meet them at the end, they're so arrogant and so confident in their abilities that letting him put up spy cameras, it's like it's so in line with them. They're like, we don't care if you see this because we got you right where we want you.
Yeah, this is one giant play, and we can adapt to whatever you do. Because you can't leave. Max notices more patients scratching the back of their necks, and people are starting to act a little bit more strange. Again, on the rewatch, I'm loving all of this because it shows that everybody is working in unison to play this poor guy, and they're doing such a good job of it.
So are we under the belief that everybody there is part of it? Like, there's not one innocent person? Because yes, they do show a lot of the people scratching the back of their neck, but like, it doesn't show everybody. He's just like walking down the hall and the camera's just like focusing on people here and there. So it's like, okay, is it everyone or is it just specifically people that are part of it? Because even the way that he's investigating, they clearly want to make it seem like not everybody has a mark. Yeah. And like, maybe the marks aren't necessarily, you know, what he thinks is like targeted people, but like the marks are like, these are the actors in the play.
Yeah. Well, I think it does a good job of putting us in that play. But when you think about it, when you go back and look at everything, there really aren't that many people at this retirement home. So I really do believe that everybody is in on it. So now it's time to plant spy cams all around the place. And I mean, Lou's up and around, so that's something. I do have to say, when he has his little like freak out and they have like him with the doctor and the orderlies, and he's like all bundled up and like frozen and sickly, and I'm really concerned for him at this point.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, oh no, he's the next victim.
Yeah, me too. The old man from 4 found one of the cameras. At first viewing, I am so curious to know what's happening. Like, who is this old man? How does he seem so decrepit and unable to move, but he's constantly trying to get Max's attention? Not once in my first viewing of this film did I think what was happening is what was actually happening.
Yeah, they do a very good job keeping you in the dark about what the ultimate reveal is going to be.
And what's great about that is, I think I said it before, it's this, like, we are seeing this through Max's eyes. So not only are they blatantly showing him what is happening, they're doing the same thing for us. And we're just like Max. We can't figure it out until they tell us. It's great writing.
Mm-hmm.
So he catches more suspicious behavior on the cameras and suspects that all the residents are marked. And then we finally meet the faceless woman in Max's room. Again, saying this whole thing is connected to the government. And I'm sad to say, I was ready to turn this movie off at this point because we were going off on such a different tangent that I have no interest in. I want to stay in the home. I don't want to think bigger picture, because once you start doing that, you're going to exceed the limitations of what you can tell in this movie. But as she leaves, the old man from 4 is waiting outside the room and attacks them.
There's no way that was part of the plan. There's no way that was part of the plan.
Exactly. And how were they not able to stop him from getting there? They're watching everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
So another nightmare, and the TV reminds us the storm is approaching.
Okay, we don't need that.
No, we don't. Max is told that Sabian must do a thorough on him. Nope, time to escape. He jumps out the window and goes home, where he meets his 2 new foster sisters. I really didn't want this movie to go back outside of this building. I really, really didn't. And I don't like any of this. I mean, I know it's important to the story, but it feels like him leaving Green Meadows is such a setback in tone that with the advancement of the story, I still feel like it took something away. I don't know how they could have done it better, but it kind of ruined the movie a little bit for me. Did you have the same feeling, or were you just kind of along for the ride at this point?
I was along for the ride, and in retrospect, I like it even more because it really does make you think, like, how sick are these parents and how long have they been essentially finding victims through the foster system, people that wouldn't have other ties, that would be young, that they could manipulate into their messed up event.
It is a brilliant plan. Also, Max's mother, like, trying to comfort him and saying, a heart knows a heart. Like, I know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that immediately makes him realize something's up.
Because his mom has never said that, but then all of a sudden she's like, oh, it's something my friend used to say to, or whatever, right? Like, it's well done.
Yeah, and I have to say, this must be a slip up in, like, probably the first major slip up in their plan, right?
No, I think it's intentional.
You think so?
Well, that the fact that she says that and then they leave is like their way to bait him to go back.
Yeah, but if
their plan falls apart, if now he's like, oh, I'm just heading for Canada or something, like, I'm getting out of here. But by saying that, she's hooking him, and now he's just like, wait, no, I need to know, because this is now my parents that are involved, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although, also makes you wonder, like, the foster kids that show him the secret room.
Yeah, I was curious about your thoughts on that.
Are they involved too?
I don't think so, but I don't know. But again, like, Max's mother saying a heart knows a heart, and then they leave. What if he's like, oh no, I'm not dealing with this, and just takes off?
Well, exactly. But no. I don't think that would be the case, because provided that he's following the plan to a T like they wanted, they know he'll have a connection to Norma, and he will want to find out more.
I think you're going out on a limb with this one, but it has to be that way for the movie to work.
Most of their plan relies on him following what they want. with a few leaps of faith. So I don't think this one is as outlandish as many of the other ones.
Yeah. But when we think about the fact that Max as a character is a delinquent and raging against the machine and is his own person, and his parents don't really know who he is, the fact that they seem to play him like a fiddle is a bit much. But I can overlook it because I'm into the movie.
You can draw a line. She says that line, which makes him investigate. It's not like he runs back to the nursing home immediately. It causes him to investigate. And what more than Norma will get his attention? He finds the scrapbook or photo album or whatever you want to call it that has a picture of Luke. And that is the one thing that they know for sure will hook him.
Fair point. Yes, I will go along with you on that one. Do you want to explain what the secret place is for anybody who hasn't seen the movie?
Well, I mean, if they're this far along and they haven't seen the movie, they shouldn't be. They should have watched the movie and then come back. But
I agree.
Behind one of the closets, I don't think they say whose closet it is. Is it the parents' closet?
I don't remember. I think I just remember one of the sisters saying that they found it when they were playing or something.
Yeah, so they take him into one of the bedrooms, and in the closet, there's like a fake wall that goes into like an attic that is just full of like, for example, like there's a table covered in trinkets like the one that he found in Norma's room. And then there's photo albums of all of these like get-togethers with people that he recognizes from the nursing home, and victims sitting in a chair. Like, there is definitely a ton of intrigue to make him want to figure out what was going on in that nursing home.
Yeah. That old photo album, like, it's great. It's a great, like, plot device, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it reminds me of The Shining. Because, well, have you seen The Shining? I don't know.
No, I haven't. I love how many times you've brought it up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing where, like, Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance is eventually consumed by the ghosts of the hotel where he's working as the caretaker, like the live-in caretaker in the off season. And he is overwhelmed and basically becomes one. And in the movie, you see a photo of like a group shot of everybody at a ball in the ballroom of the hotel. And at the end of the movie, when the character has passed on, you see him in that photo. Like, from what I remember, near the center with a smile on his face and everybody celebrating around him. Here, it's all of the residents of Green Meadows smiling and partying, dressed to the nines. And then you've got that one character looking completely dazed, completely out of it, in the wheelchair. They're all younger kids. And it just really reminded me of that. But also noticing that not everybody, almost all the residents in the photo have chalices drawn on their foreheads.
Yes. And
then he discovers that one of the photos where the kid's in the wheelchair, that kid is his brother, Luke.
Mm-hmm.
So we return to Green Meadows. Max breaks onto the 4th floor and problems arise. Yes. He immediately knows that the crazy old man is Luke. What are your thoughts on that?
I still don't know how he knew that was Luke.
No idea. I have no clue. It's a major problem with this movie.
Right? Again, and this is where if something, when Luke was still living at home, Max did a drawing that he got tattooed onto his like forearm or something. Like something. He just knows that one of that guy's Luke, and I don't know how. Right?
Yeah, there needs to be more here to make that connection. It's just too out there for the rest of the movie, which is so meticulously planned out for this to happen is probably one of the weakest points of the plot for me. But then Les knocks out Max, and he awakens in a wheelchair for the next group photo. His parents are present as well, as they've been sending all of their foster kids to the home. And now we get the twist and its explanation. And Lou lays it all out, how everything was a ruse. The marks on our necks, the government conspiracy, faceless fantasies, which is the chat room, my psychoses, all part of the grand tale we concocted to fuck with you for our entertainment while you nourished us at night. So now at least we have an explanation for the nightmares, because they've been drawing this stuff out of his eye. We see, like, we go back to the nightmares where they're like prying his eyelids open. And the whole ploy is to drain the youth of their essence to keep the elderly alive, because there's a gland behind the right eye that basically contains the fountain of youth. I've never done well with eye horror, and the needle was rough. How did you feel about it?
I was cool with it.
Yeah? I mean, it works.
Yeah. Maybe the scene in Dead Space 2 desensitized me to this.
I still can't get over that. I can't do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I think it's because there is a story, a coworker from a long time ago when I worked in the electronics department of Sears in university. He was telling me when he was a bit younger, technology wasn't what it was at the time. He had to have cataract surgery.
Okay.
And there were no lasers to do it at the time. So they had to cut open your eye and scrape it out. And as they were doing that, they got an emergency call and had to leave him there with his eye flapped open. And he wasn't allowed to move. That's a horror show. And since then, I couldn't deal with anything eye related. But anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like hearing about my LASIK surgery.
Tell us.
Oh, if you describe how mine went perfectly, there was no emergency or anything like that. But if you actually describe the procedure, like I could feel them cut my eye, peel open the flap. I could feel them brushing it back in place after, when they were actually using the laser, it smelled like burning hair. You know, like. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop.
No, keep going. It's fine. I'm good.
No. I'm not even doing it in the proper order. I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, I will say this, none of it hurt. Like, I felt fine. It was a weird description of sensations.
Oh, God. Not a fan, but good on you.
All right, don't throw up. We're getting there.
I'm doing my best. All right. Cut to Max in a wheelchair on the 4th floor. And Lou taunting him and admitting they killed Norma. And now one of the weirdest scenes. The storm has arrived. And I have to ask, is this the storm that we saw at the beginning of the movie that they were warning about, or have we had a couple now?
I think this is the same storm that has just been working its way up the coastline.
So how long has this movie been going on for? Like, how long in the movie time? Like, what is the time period here? Because it feels like this must have been only a couple of days.
I was going to say like a week.
Okay. Luke snaps off a spoke from his wheelchair and uses it to drain the glands, the eyes of the others on the 4th, and then feeds it to Max. And like, I've sworn a few times here, but I need to say, like, Max then goes on a massive fucking rampage, murdering everybody. And this is crazy levels of violence, Sandro. Hammers, hatchets, gore galore. What are your thoughts on this scene?
Well, my first thought was, why didn't Luke do this before? Like, if he could rip the spoke off his wheelchair and suck out some of the essence of all the other patience in that room, whatever, for lack of a better phrase, and feed it to one person to give them their strength back. Why didn't he just try to give himself strength back? Maybe it's because Max came in and he was still at a version of a youth, right? Like, I don't know if maybe he figured he'd be too frail even if he was whatever. My second thought is, as Max is leaving the room with like murderous intent in his eyes, Luke like falls to the ground, probably like he's spent the last of his energy. But he has the biggest smile on his face.
It's great.
It's so good because you're just like, he's not going to make it. At least in that moment, you think he's not going to make it, right? But he's like, I don't care because I accomplished this. This is what I wanted. And then I think that the scene going down the hallway and just systematically murdering everyone was done phenomenally.
Oh, yeah. And I agree with you with the whole Luke part. I don't think he would have done it for himself, because even if he did it and then drank the fluids himself, he's still too far gone to really do anything of substance.
But you also figure, how long has he been there? And like, maybe he would have at one point, not knowing Max is going to get there, be desperate enough to try, because he's like, I can't live like this. I got to at least try.
Yeah. Well, he's been there for, we can assume, at least 15, maybe 20 years.
Right? So, like, you would have thought that desperation might have kicked in. I don't care. It's not like he was sitting there thinking, well, I'll just wait until Max gets here.
Yeah, but he also, and I do have a problem with the old Luke character in this movie, in that he is so decrepit and can hardly move, yet he seems to get around pretty easily when he wants to.
Fair.
But yeah, like, I think he couldn't have done that for Max if Max didn't know who he was. So when Max shows up and he knows it's his brother, then Luke can get away with doing what he's doing and Max won't try to fight him. The hallway scene where Max is just slaughtering everybody is so out of touch with everything this movie has to say, but at the same time it works so well. It feels like a video game. It really reminds me of the movie Mayhem, directed by Joe Lynch, where it's such over-the-top violence, but as out of place as it is with the rest of the movie, I am 100% in with this, and I am A-okay with it.
See, the thing that I love about this scene more than anything else is that Max shows literally no remorse, no evaluation. He kills everyone without a second guess. Too many times we see movies like this and just like, oh, he comes across Lou, for example, and oh, I remember the connection we have, and maybe he does still kill him, but he's hesitant and he takes his time, or, you know, like he fights himself to do it. He's like, nah, man. Like, there's no emotion left. What these people did to me, I do not need to judge. I'm just going to kill now.
Yeah. Like, the way he takes out Lou is insane. Not Lou, sorry. Les is insane. Just hammer to the legs and then hammer claw to the groin.
I will say, like, part of this scene that did stand out to me is though, like, how effective he was at it.
He was very efficient.
Because at no point in the movie did they make, like, yes, he was a delinquent, but like he got arrested for spray painting. So I'm like,
yeah,
how is he so good at violence? Like, that's not what this character was supposed to be.
And this is a major nitpick, but I want to know if you thought about this too. These people have been depleted of this fluid in this gland behind their eye. How does he get so rejuvenated from it? Because they're bringing Max in because they're running out of it.
I think the idea is that they're not out, but also Max isn't as far gone. So he wouldn't need as much of it to get himself back on his feet.
That makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
I feel that Lou's death should have been more of an event. I feel like it was almost a throwaway. How do you feel about that?
I feel if you want to talk about throwaway deaths, it's his parents.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't really care about his parents, and like, he didn't even kill them. The storm killed them.
Exactly. And it was just like, oh, piece of the roof flew off and killed them. Oh, okay. Like, like that storm was so bad that might have killed the parents if they were just leaving the building at that time anyway.
Yeah, true. But having Lou be shot repeatedly by Sabian, I thought was a cheat for the viewers. But it's not what kills him. Because it's implied that if Max takes the essence from Lou's eye and gives it to the patients on the 4th, that will bring them back around. And it does, because it helps them escape while the storm subsides in the morning. And then it's roll credits, end of movie.
I know that you didn't quite care for the way that Lou dies, but it's almost kind of fitting because what did we feel about Lou throughout the whole movie? Like,
yes,
you
know where you're going here.
You want him to be an ally, or dare we say a protector for Max, and then in this situation, his body protected him from taking the bullets himself.
See, I saw it as Lou was a larger than life personality. He was an actor. Everything was bigger than everyone else. And then he had the most pathetic death of the movie.
Yeah, so different ways to approach it.
True. But yeah, that's the film. Like I was stunned by it, man. But let's get into the budget here. This is a cheat, so I'm just going to get into it. I'm not going to ask you what it was, because it hasn't been officially disclosed how much the budget was for this movie. Originally, it started off as a script for another Purge film, because DeMonaco did the Purge movies. It was adjusted a bit, and the script had a $60 million budget, but then they had to reframe everything, create a smaller movie, and the budget was trimmed down. So they haven't disclosed what it actually was. And I'm just going to ask you, because the numbers I have are just for the box office, but how much do you think this movie made?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I didn't see a marketing campaign. I can't imagine it's a lot, because did people even know that it was out?
I didn't.
Yeah, and you know everything.
Well, thanks.
Well, when it comes to movies. Yeah, like 7 million?
1.7 million.
Wow. That's...
Yeah. I wish this is a movie that I was aware of, because if it was playing near me, I would have gone to the theater for it. Or would I? I don't know. It seemed really strange before I actually watched it. That's a weird one. When it comes to ratings, I am very conflicted on this. So on IMDb, out of 10, what do you think this movie has?
5.1.
5.4.
Yeah.
Very close. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, tomato meter?
72.
28.
What?
I know. I was shocked.
That seems unreasonably low.
I agree completely. Popcorn meter?
48.
58.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Also, I do find that surprising too.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the one that surprised me the most is the tomato meter, because I really thought this would be like almost like a artistic horror movie that critics would just eat up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say I think the reason why it has such a low rating from critics is that it had such a strong build up, and then it really weakened with the whole introduction of the laptop for me. And while the ending was great, you had to build back up to it, and I don't think it got to the same level of enjoyment as the buildup at the beginning of the movie. So if you have a really good exposition and then everything after that is lesser, by the time you're done watching the movie, you're not coming out on a high note.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, that's a hypothesis. I don't know.
I
But
can't
let's
say
get
you're
into the
wrong.
award.
There's definitely some inconsistencies for sure.
Mm-hmm. So as far as awards go,
Right?
least favorite character, I think I can get away with saying this.
Okay.
Les, the orderly, played by Adam Cantor, who co-wrote the movie.
Okay.
He was around enough to be able to be picked for this award, but he didn't really do anything. I disliked him the entire time, which is great because that's what he was going for, but he didn't seem important at all to the plot. So now you just have this asshole character in your movie with no real use or reason. I don't know if you agree with that, but who was your least favorite character?
Bruce Altman as Dr. Sabian.
Really? Interesting. Okay. On what grounds?
I thought he was going to be a detestable character, and he is the only one that right from the start was exactly what I thought he was going to be. But I did hate him the most. And I mean, okay, this what I'm going to say next is maybe a little bit inaccurate based on the fact that the actual eye gland thing worked, and I feel like it's usually a little bit more delusion. But he's a cult leader.
Yes, he is. Very much
Right.
so.
Like, yes, it definitely helps him have a following when what he is preaching works. But like, he orchestrated and created this whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the actor did a fine job. I'm literally picking this because that character is the most detestable one in the movie.
He is, yes. What about favorite character? I think we're going to agree on this one.
I went with Pete Davidson as Max, but it was a really tough choice between him and Lou.
Okay. All right. Tell me why you picked Pete.
I just think that he did a phenomenal job in the movie. And maybe some of it is based on my preconceived notions, but like, he really surprised me in his capabilities. I think that him and Lou were probably on equal footing in performance in this movie. I mean, if I was to say, going into the movie who I expect to be phenomenal, it would be John Glover. So like, there wasn't that additional element of surprise, but like I said, I went back and forth on the two of them a lot before I settled on this award.
Yeah. Pete Davidson surprised the hell out of me. I didn't think he could do it, and he ran away with it, and he did a phenomenal job. I have zero complaints really about his performance whatsoever. But if you want to go with favorite character, it's Lou for me, played by John Glover. While not the man in charge or the person in charge, he was the master manipulator, and he did such a good job. The character did such a good job about basically telling Max the entire time in the film that he's being fucked with, and kept doing it in such a way that Max didn't catch on. Like, he had such a massive ego. And I think I've mentioned before that to me, there's nothing more annoying than someone that can talk a lot of shit and then backs it up, because you want to hate them, but then you have to admit that they're right. And he was almost there for me. So I loved it. I love him as a sympathetic character. I love him as an insane antagonist. I thought he did such a great job, but the character was so well written, and he just played Max so well. Like, I loved Lou as a character.
Okay, fair enough. What did you have for your favorite or most memorable line?
My most memorable line, I think you might shrug it off, but it gave me one of the biggest chuckles of the movie. And that was after the pool scene where it was like Mrs. Fisher had her scalp start bleeding and he was rushing people out of the pool. It cuts to him in his room where he's lighting a cigarette and smoking next to his window. And he's like, best generation, my fucking dick. Like, yeah, here we are. This is still like, I hate everything. I'm not happy. I hate life. I don't want to do this. Max, before he does a complete flip and actually starts caring for the people that he's working with, or working for, working around. It was good. I thought it was a really great summation of the character at that point. And the last time we get to see him be that standoffish character before he becomes a lovable guy. What was your most memorable line?
You'll have to excuse me for not going very deep with this one. But when he sets up the spy cameras, he says to himself, sick. It's like Predator.
Yeah. It's good. It's very good.
It's just such a throwaway line, but I'm just like, it was like such a moment of brevity in the moment where it was like, I'm getting so caught up in all the intrigue. He's setting up cameras. He's almost, caught when he's setting them up. And then he's looking at them and he's going from the different shots and he gets to like the heat one. He's like, sick, like in Predator.
Memorable scene?
The hallway murder.
Yeah, same.
Like it's the fact that I like that scene so much, despite the fact that it is probably the one that doesn't fit in this movie the most. Mm-hmm. And yet I still embrace it fully as like part of the movie. Just screams how good of a job they did.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I picked the same scene. Severed hands, hatchet to the face, claw hammer to the thigh and balls, snapping Sabian's wrist with his own hands, caving in a face by repeatedly ramming into a window, but sadly the parents die because of the storm.
Yeah. It feels like, especially the fact that like, if you analyze it, because it doesn't really give you this much of it in the movie, but if you analyze it, it's like, these were his foster parents. He was raised by them. They probably meant the most to him. Mm-hmm. And to them, he was nothing. He was a target. Like, he really should have gotten his, I don't know why. Maybe revenge isn't the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
I think that's a fair term. Yeah.
Yeah. So it absolutely should have been him, not a random roof slaughtering. Mm-hmm. It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's just, it did not fit.
Yeah. All right. So you want to get into your final thoughts or you want me to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
If not for the inclusion of the laptop and the chat room, I would say this movie is almost perfect for a campy horror film that you can actually enjoy on your own. The fact that it lends itself to multiple viewings, and I enjoyed it more the second time than the first, speaks volumes. The performances are fantastic. It's some of the best characters I've seen in film in a long time. I had no expectations. I expected the worst. And this movie proved me wrong on everything that I had prejudged it on. I was so pleasantly surprised by this movie. I'll definitely keep it in regular rotation because there's so much more that we miss on the first, and I would argue the second viewing, that it has a great life to it. I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. Anybody that is willing to just shrug it off because Pete Davidson's in it, I would have to say, yeah, I agree. I almost did the same thing, but I was completely wrong. Like, I messed up on that. And this is one of the best hidden gems that I've discovered in recent memory. I loved it. high recommend. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Dude, I loved this movie. I don't say this lightly. This is one of my favorite movies that we've covered in a long time.
Same.
I went into it with no expectation because, as I said, I didn't know this movie existed before you told me. And again, I did not have any sort of negative feelings or expectations towards Pete Davidson. You know, I generally like him, but I also did not expect when I saw what this movie was that he would be capable. Much like when I was telling Ryan about it, I was like, okay, well, is it a comedy? Is there a comedic element? Like, I did not think that he would be so, like, just think about this for a second. We complimented Pete Davidson on being able to stand toe to toe with John Glover in this movie.
Right.
If there's no, like, what could be a higher compliment than that? This movie is a 100% recommend on my part.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you enjoyed it as much as you did. It's so rare to find a movie that you have no expectations of, and you almost want it to be bad because you just don't want to like it, and the movie just slaps you in the face and is like, no, you're going to enjoy this because it's really good, and you're just along with it for almost the entire time.
Like, think about it. You forgive the laptop scene. I forgive the fact that there are plot holes in the hallway scene, which doesn't fit into the movie if you actually look at it from like a presentation standpoint, from a tone standpoint. But I loved it so much as my favorite scene. Like, the few shortcomings are not even a second thought. You just watch this movie.
Yeah. You can't stop watching it is one of my favorite things about it, is because they do such a good job with intrigue and mystery at the beginning. And like, I tried to explain it to a coworker today, and I was like, the movie is so entertaining, but then at one point they jump the shark and you kind of back off a bit, but then they jump another shark with the hallway scene and you're right back into it. And his reaction is, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that had a double shark jump. Like, yeah, that's what this is. Like, it's so, like, you hit that one part where you're like, oh, fine, of course, this is where they're going, and you want to give up, and then they just slap you in the face like, no, you're staying around for the rest of it. And you're like, you're right, I totally am. And then it ends, and you're like, I kind of wish it was more than an hour and 34 minutes long. It's just really enjoyable. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as you did, because this was such a welcome surprise. And I can't wait to see what Davidson does next.
So those are our thoughts on The Home. If you'd like to share your thoughts with us, you can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BSBargainBin, Facebook.com/BSBargainBin, and of course the comment section of the YouTube video. Ben.
Yo.
What are we watching next week?
Next week, we will be talking about 1992's Pet Sematary 2.
Hey, what are you doing?
Getting things ready for Mom.
Mom's dead, Jeff.
She doesn't have to be.
Something strange.
Now, I didn't think much about it until I saw him drag the body out of the coffin.
Something ancient.
Bury your own.
Something evil.
Was it your idea of a joke to send me blood from a dead animal?
This dog is alive.
Not this dog.
Something terrifying is happening in Ludlow, Maine. Again.
Pick up your family and get the hell out of that town!
Pet Sematary 2.
Jeff, honey. Father and I need to talk.
Some stories just won't stay dead.
Deja vu. Until next time, have a good one.
All the best.
This program is a proud part of the Swear2Pod Network.